This is Front and Nationwide on the Athletic Podcast Network.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Front and Nationwide. Aaron Portzline with you on a Monday evening. You'll be seeing this on Tuesday morning. Boy, I'm sure you're not listening to this if you're not a Blue Jackets fan. And if you're a Blue Jackets fan, it's been a rough 24 plus hours for you. Blue Jackets with a bad weekend. Tough loss to the Sharks on Saturday, but a almost unimaginable loss to the Bruins on Sunday. They're up 3-0 in the third period. You've heard this story how many times before? Bruins 3-1 at 6:29. Bruins 3-2 at 8:43, a power play goal. Bruins 3-3 at 19:49. 11 seconds left in the game. The Bruins scored to tie it up. The Blue Jackets lose in a shootout. Real kick in the pants. Hey, they get 1 point instead of two. In that regard, it's not the end of the world. But to see that sort of performance, that sort of cave-in, especially after you saw such an incredible opening first period, truly one of the best first periods certainly I've seen this season. Probably one of the top 5 or 10 periods we've seen the Blue Jackets play, maybe ever. So we'll talk about this. I'm not sure how much it may help you just to talk about it. I'm not sure how much better anybody can make anybody feel about this tendency that the Blue Jackets have stumbled upon this season. They kind of thought they were done with this. I think a lot of people did under Rick Bowness. We're going to talk. The guest this hour is Blue Jackets radio voice Bob McElligott. I'm sure he'll have some insights into this. Listen, I get to process this, talk to players, and then write about it. Bob McElligott's bringing it to you in real time. Not a lot of time to process. And if you're familiar with this call, he doesn't necessarily do a great job of hiding his emotions sometimes. It comes through. So we'll talk to him about that, just how different that job is in a game like this, good and bad. We should talk about the great ones as well, because you've got to know all of those things and all of what it means. And just a few things here. I think your tendency when a team loses games like this is to wonder, when are the young guys going to grow up? But it's not the young guys. It's not the young guys. It's everybody. It was Boone Jenner, the captain, who took 2 penalties in the third period. The last one leads to the power play goal. It was Charlie Coyle, maybe the most, certainly at forward, the Blue Jackets' most reliable, consistent. He's a composed player. He's the guy, he's got the puck on his stick right before Pavel Zacha scores. It sure felt, look, the game's easier up in the press box. It sure looked like he had an ability to clear that puck immediately and held on to it a half second later, waiting for the better play to develop, perhaps. It cost him dearly. The puck is poked off his stick right to Zacha, bang, from right in front of Jet Greaves. We'll talk to Bob about that. One thing I've noticed and wrote about it today, the Blue Jackets Monday gathering is up, is that the Blue Jackets are really seeing a different level of play from their opponents now. And that's, I think, specifically true for Zach Werenski, but especially for Kirill Marchenko. They have bodied up Kirill Marchenko here the last 6, 7, 8 games. Ever since the Blue Jackets moved into a playoff spot, I think the games have gotten a ton more physical. And it only makes sense that those are the two guys, those are the two heads, if you will, that you would try to cut off. I asked Rick Bowness about this. He saw the physical stuff. Yes, I think the stuff that he's more interested in is how they're not letting them just carry the puck. And I think that's especially true for Werenski. They're not backing off. They're not ceding ice to him. He's being confronted much quicker in his path up the ice. And I think we started to see that last year when the Blue Jackets made it interesting too. Werenski or Marchenko is just getting hit. He's getting hit. He was ragdolled a couple times in that Islanders game against Casey Cizikas, gave him a couple of big hits in that game. He continues to bounce back. He's still in it, but he hasn't scored in 8 games either. Matched the longest goal drought of his season. So they've got to get Marchenko going. They have to find a way. Listen, it's got to be. It has to be psychological, right? It has to be. How can you play a first period like they did on Sunday? Play a second period that was a solid step, maybe 2 below that, and then a third period that just looked like all of that nervousness we saw from this team in November. And I'll say this, guys, it wasn't Dean Evison, right? Now, it certainly has happened a lot more under him than it has under Bonus. This is 2 collapses under Bonus. This is the big one, though. This is on the big stage. It's those players. And I think it's between their ears. This is an amateur diagnosis, of course, but if they can physically play like they did in that first period against Boston on Sunday, but they can't back it up, something comes over them when they feel like the other team is making a push. It feels like little brother, big brother, right? Where big brother knows he's going to win this game. And deep down inside, little brother knows he's gonna win this game too. It just doesn't feel like the Blue Jackets are quite on par with their belief, their confidence, and their sort of just determination and straightforwardness as maybe some of these other teams are. We've seen it before. Boston, Edmonton, those games, the Islanders game, where it all started back November 2nd, I think it was, on the island. This is just really demoralizing for a team. I will say this, the key now, and Rick Bowness was already on this path after the game last night. They have to look at it like this. They got a point. They didn't lose that game straight out. They didn't get 0 from it. They got a point. And mock that loser's point all you want. 1 point can make a huge difference this time of year. Just look at those standings. 1 point can make a really big difference to a team that may not get the benefit of the tiebreaker. Regulation wins is not in their favor against a lot of these teams that they're right up there against. So they're still in a playoff spot. Depending upon what time you listen to this on Tuesday, they're still going to be in a playoff spot. That's where it is. They've lost 4 out of 5, and they're still in a playoff spot. Okay? That's good news. Second bit of good news, as Rick Bowness sees it, is they were able to play that first period the way that they did. That's in them. That kind of performance is in them. So they're going to look at that. Yes, they're going to look at the second and the third periods, but as he said, he's not going to belabor the point. He's not going to spend more time on what happened in the third period than he did on what went right in the first period. He has to get this team mentally prepared to play the Carolina Hurricanes at home Tuesday, in Raleigh on Thursday. And what he can go back to is, guys, remember this game, 5-1 Blue Jackets. I think it was March 13th. He thinks it was their most complete game of the season. That's a pretty good win against a marquee team. He's certainly not going to go through all of the numbers that I've gone through and thought about and said, geez, if they had even half of those games, if they'd held on, these games against Carolina could be for first place in the Metro or perhaps in the Eastern Conference. It's just the reality of it. This isn't meant to take them off the hook, but I know Pittsburgh Penguins fans who say that their teams have suffered the same debilitating, demoralizing losses this year. So, geez, teams go through this sometimes. It's so magnified at this time of the year. One other thing, we are anticipating a recall from Cleveland today. We'll know more about this. I'm recording this around 4:50, so I believe it's Luca Del Bel Belouz, but we'll see. They're calling up a forward from Cleveland. That'll be announced in just a few minutes. They need a body, okay? That's where they're at. They need an extra body maybe. They still have some guys that they're scratching, but the Blue Jackets have lost now 3 players in 3 games. We'll go over these with Bob as well, but Severson 3 games ago, he's week to week. Dmitry Voronkov 2 games ago, he was in and out of the lineup, mostly out, but he's week to week too after blocking a shot with his hand. and now Matthew Olivier, who we do not have an update on. Perhaps we'll get one today. So we'll see where that goes. And I think that's it. Like, I hate to talk about nothing but that god awful loss on Sunday, but that's kind of where this team is right now. And it's you can't hide behind that or hide away from it. All right, let's bring Bob McElligott in. And after we talk to Bob, we'll get to your Ask Porty questions. And thanks for joining us here on Front and Nationwide. Be back with you in just a second. Joined now by Blue Jackets radio voice, Bob McElligott. Bobby Mac, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for the invite, Porty.
Yeah, of course. Glad to get her up and running again. I'm going to start with a real let's go light here to start, because we all know where we're going with this. Let's go light to start. John Tortorella's back in the National Hockey League. Wow. Your thoughts when that popped through shortly before face-off on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, first I was shocked that Bruce Cassidy got he got fired, right?
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, the first thing I said was, who's taking his place? And when I saw it, I was like, wow, how about that? But should I be surprised? I mean, he was just part of a gold medal winning team in the Olympics. He's back, baby.
He never said he was done coaching.
If he was done coaching, he wouldn't have been on ESPN, in my opinion, right?
100%. Yeah, he does it. He does that, I think, to stay up on the game, right?
Yeah, you stay up on the game and you stay in the forefront, right? Because people still see you. People still talk about you. And although he doesn't give the strong opinions there, I feel that he will give you other places. That's also because he has in mind that he wants to coach again, right? So you don't want to alienate anybody. You want to have the chance, and the chance came.
And I always like to say, glad to have you back in the media, John. And I'm not in the media. He's very clear about that.
I sent that to him too. I sent it immediately.
I did. I saw you on TV. You're hanging out with the media types. No, it's a better league with him in it. It's a wild move with, what do they have? 8 games left. They're in it by 4 points. This is a Lamoriello type move by McCrimmon. Like, he just doesn't like what he sees. He doesn't think that it's going well. I'm wondering, though, in that room, because, Cassidy has a reputation for being tough on players. Typically, it's good cop, bad cop. I'm wondering if the room was like, guys, we've made a change. Cassidy's no longer the coach. Woohoo! John Tortorella's coming in. Oh, right. Like, maybe they thought it was going in another direction. It did not get easier. You're going to like him. A lot of the stuff is you see that's out there, as is someone else's idea of what it's like. They'll have a ton of respect for him, play for him, but it is not going to be easy. That's for sure.
No, it won't be easy. That's just the way it is with him, as you know. But, to me, this move is they feel they have players that can do something. Yes. And they need, first of all, they had burnout with Cassidy. Yeah. That's very obvious, right? So you got to make some kind of a change. And they bring in John Tortorella, who, as you just said, is similar, but he's got that great motivational piece to him. Those great speeches that he can give. And look, they're in the Pacific Division. Quite frankly, it's a soft division. They have a chance to get in. All they got to do is get in, and then they have a chance to do something. So they need somebody that's going to push, but they also need somebody that can give you that great message that wants to make you run through a wall for them. And we know Torts can do that.
Yes, he can. I'll never forget the speech before the Tampa series.
That's right.
Yeah.
That probably got him his last 2 jobs.
Right. Let's get to this crew. I was saying in the first part of the podcast before we brought you in here, my job is different than yours, and obviously one of the things that struck me before we put this together is I get to see that thing play out. I get to think about it. I get to go in the room and talk to players about it. Then I get to come back and try to piece together a collection of words that are different from the 6-8 times already this season that it's happened much the same way. You're bringing it to people as this occurs. You are not Memorex. You are live. You have to be of a certain age to understand that reference. What is that like? How difficult is it for you to, because I think your emotion comes through an appropriate amount. How tough is it to not let just utter disgust and and whatever you're feeling come through the the microphone when you're trying to tell people what just happened on the ice.
Yeah, it's really hard, quite honestly. And it's one thing when you're not in the playoffs and you're playing out the string and all those things, and you just aren't as invested. But for me, it's really hard with this group because watching what happened to them last year and how they fell short by 2 points, and now watching them in a spot, having control of their destiny, and feeling pretty good about it, playing really good hockey over the last 2 months, and then watching these last couple of days slip away. And I know you'll agree with me on this because we talked during the games. You can see it coming. Yes. And to me, it's not identical to what we saw a couple of months ago where the third period was falling apart. Like the same thing is happening, but it's the way it's happening now. The way they played the first period against Boston, world beaters, absolute world beaters.
Incredible
Even
period.
Getting the power play goal late in the period to just put the exclamation point on this game.
Everybody's
right?
going crazy. Yeah.
Yes. And then all of a sudden, you see a change in the second period. And I kept on saying, you cannot let the Boston Bruins have any life. You can't let them think that they're in the game. And then they get one, and then they get two right away, and now it's a game. And they know it, and everybody knows it. So that's what makes it hard for me is knowing the players as well as you do, watching every single game, and knowing when they're in trouble and when there are breakdowns and when it's likely what's going to happen is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
That's what makes it hard because you're frustrated. You're mad. I've always said one of the biggest compliments, in my opinion, that I've gotten from fans is I can turn on the radio and I know if we're winning or losing just by your tone of voice.
Yeah. How about that?
Yeah. Right. And it's because, the way I look at it is I am a fan and I'm fortunate enough to be sitting in this chair telling the rest of you what's going on. But look, I mean, I work for the team. I'm around the guys all the time, and I want them to win. When they win, my job is easier. When they win, everything is more fun. When they win, the organization is a much better place. So, I'm honest about that. But man, it's really, really hard when you can see the wheels coming off.
And you can. I played amateur psychologist in the first part here. It has to be mental. It has to be, right?
Yeah,
they're not. Dean Evason's teams did this. They just did this under bonus. They've done this before, but this year specifically, it's not two different coaches. I said to a broadcaster for Boston in between the second and the third period, it's 3-0. I saw how that second period went. I said, next goal wins. He was like, come on. Next goal? I'm like, 100%. Watch this. You just feel it. You can feel it coming.
Yeah.
It's not the young guys either, Bob. It's not.
No. And I was going to say that when you're talking about it being mental, you're right, because it's not, you're not looking and saying, well, there's Cole Sillinger. I know he's been in the league 5 years, but he's never been in the playoffs. So, he doesn't know. It's not him. It's guys that have been in the playoffs and have played a lot of games in the playoffs. It is, it's a team-wide epidemic is what it was this past weekend, right? Everybody is to blame, just like when they're playing really well. Everybody is to give the pat on the back, and it's the opposite right now. So everybody's got to get it together, not one or two guys.
I get this sense too that they're kind of caught in between this awful spot of, say, when the 3-1 goal gets scored, don't overreact here, just be cool, play the game. Nobody wants to get too worked up about it, but at some point, you have to recognize that something has to change. And where is you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to overreact, but you don't want to underreact either. And nobody wants to sort of hit the 5-alarm fire button on the bench, but maybe somebody has to lose it at some point to really clear the air. Because is it the captain? Is it the leadership? Is it the lack of leadership? I mean, I watched that replay at the Zaka's goal with 11 seconds left in regulation. Charlie Coyle, who has been Mr. Perfect this year. I mean, there's literally nothing to complain about with Charlie Coyle this year in all aspects. He's been incredible. I think he should win the Selke. He's got the puck on his stick. Like, it looks like he's got a pretty good chance to just chuck it with 11 seconds left, and I think he hesitated a half second to make a play. and boom, knocked off a stick, boom, boom, boom. Jenner has the 2 penalties in the third period. Sillinger, another one. Like you said, it's just everywhere. I don't know. I totally agree with Rick Bowness that this team needs to be propped up and positive heading into Tuesday's game. And you cannot let this eat you alive. But now I'm back to where I was in November or December, wondering what this team's going to talk about. Do they even want to talk about it? Do they want to make sure they don't under deal with it as opposed to over deal with it? How do they handle this if they have a lead on Tuesday? Here we are again.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't feel like that again. I feel like this is, and I'll put the Saturday game with this too against San Jose. I think there's, the vice is tightening right now.
Yeah, sure.
And it is, when you're losing games in the third period in December, it cost them points that they could dearly use right now. I admit that. But to me, I think this one is because, you're so afraid of making a mistake now at this point. You've got a spot. You want to hold the spot. And, you're right. They got to get over it. But, they talk a good game after the game saying about, we just got to get ready for the next one. Yeah. But look, the next 2 are against the same team, and that team leads the division. I mean, your margin for error is now over. Okay.
Yes.
Your mulligans are done. Like the extra balls you might want to hit, you've already put 2 in the water. It's over. Yeah. You got to put it in the fairway from here on out. So, I don't quite feel like it's that third period collapse, even though what we've seen the last 2 games, but it's still a problem.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah. The injuries, boy, oh boy, this team was incredibly healthy. Severson's a big one, probably bigger than people realize, or bigger than people are talking about. We don't know anything specific about Olivier yet. Those are the 2 big ones. Voronkov's not a great one either, but he's been in and out of the lineup. We don't know anything about Olivier, but this team looks different without Severson and Olivier, do they not? Big time.
Yeah, and I think, you talked about Damon Severson. Isn't it funny how much difference there is in 1 year? When last year Damon Severson couldn't crack the lineup when the Blue Jackets needed to get points to get into the playoffs. And now his absence might be the difference between them getting enough points to get into the playoffs. Right. But I agree with you. I mean, listen, let's be completely honest here. Zach Werenski has not been the same guy since he's come back from the Olympics.
Fair.
Has he been bad? No. Has he been as terrific? No. And there have been more than a handful of nights when I've seen Zach Werenski bobbling pucks, overskating pucks, taking shots that get blocked and come back the other way. And Damon Severson's been the guy that's cleaned it up. Yep. He's done a really good job in that regard, in addition to providing the offense that he provides and the breakouts that he provides. So that you're right. That one hurts because now it takes away the balance, right? They finally had found a balance in the 6 guys.
Left, right.
Yes. And now they've got to mess with that. And as well as Dante Fabro played with Zach Werenski last year, almost the entire season, I would love to look at that and say, just put him back. It's going to be the same old thing. But sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
And now you've got Jake Christensen and Igor Zamula, who are both coming in. They've each played 1 game in the absence of Damon Severson, but they're not the same guy. They both have attributes, but then what happens? They end up shortening the bench and playing 5 guys is what they do.
Right. Yeah.
So now not only do you're not even playing with 6, you're playing with 5.5 at best, just because Severson's out. And Olivier, not having that guy where you can go out and, if you're Cole Sillinger and Charlie Coyle, have all the room in the world that you want to.
All the room.
Now all of a sudden, it's not the same. Miles Wood did everything he could to fill in that role, but he's not Matthew Olivier. So those hurt big time.
Just changes their look big time up front.
And it takes all the balance away, right? Off the lines. I mean, losing a guy, now you're rotating forwards. But even, I said this the other day, when Kent Johnson cannot get into the lineup, to me, he's just screwed up 2 lines because, he screwed up the second line because, and I shouldn't say he did. The second line is now different because he is not playing well enough to play on it. And he went to the 4th line. Now, Now you've messed up that fourth line because you have to move somebody off of it. So it's just that's the way it is right now. Just one little thing can take the whole balance out.
Yeah, and I have to say I was pleased to see Bonus change up that second line, because it sure felt with when it was Johnson and Garland on either side of Monahan, that sure felt like a light line for this time of year. And it felt like it was getting lost, like that line was getting lost in more and more games. And I kind of like that line a little bit better. I thought it was wonderful in the first period with Jenner last night, but that line faded as the game went on too. I'll be really interested to see what the lineup looks like on Tuesday.
It might be time to look at that top line too.
Marchenko's gone 8 games without a goal.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think all of this stems to, tell me if you think I'm wrong. I'm sure you will. When they got up and over that bar, when they became a playoff team, in other words, no longer a team pointing toward the North Star, but a team that had gotten up and over where they wanted to be. I think the first game they played in that position was the Islanders. And I think ever since then, the Islanders really, really took it to them physically. The pace in almost all of these games has been through the roof. And it's been a really hard adjustment for a lot of guys. Again, veteran and young guys. But, I mean, are we sure they can get there? They sure looked like it in the first period. Can they possibly sustain that for the length of a whole game? Your thoughts?
I don't know. I don't. Yeah. I think the day off has got to be really helpful to them.
Yeah, better be.
Yeah, it has to be, right? I mean, I was a little bit surprised that they skated on Friday when they got back from Montreal because of how late we got back from Montreal. But then you have a 5:00 game on Saturday, so I guess you feel that you got to get them on the ice.
Right.
But I mean, look, everybody's played the same schedule, because if I say, well, they played 6 games in 8 days or whatever it is, 9, people are going to say, well, everybody's playing the same schedule. Okay, granted, they are. Right. I'll give you that. Sure. But are they playing it with the same kind of intensity that this team has to play it with, as you just talked about? The Islanders brought it to them, laid the lumber on them as much as they could that whole game. They went to Philly. That wasn't an easy game. It was the same kind of thing.
Yeah, it was heavy. Yeah.
Went to Montreal. That one wasn't as heavy, but it was fast. Yep. And then you come home and have to take on the supersonic speed of the San Jose Sharks. And then you get the Bruins at the end of all of that. I mean, it is a tough task. There's no doubt. And this is not the youngest team in the league anymore, and that's good, or they probably wouldn't be in a playoff position.
That's right.
But that being said, you're asking a lot of guys to learn on the fly and do it under some really trying conditions. And it's not an excuse. It's a fact. But the other fact is, if they want to be in, they have got to adjust to it today.
Yeah. 100%. Were you surprised by Bonus's post-game comments after the game Sunday?
A little bit, yeah. That's as forceful as we've heard him, right? He's been a really good, positive guy, and it wasn't even that he was being negative. He was being frank and honest is what he was being.
Yeah.
Talking about guys being selfish, and I think I talked about that first line. Maybe they have to look at that because of I think they're guilty of some of those things. But then how much do you change it? If you revamp the whole thing, are you going to get the production out of it? Or are you going to have to go right back to it in the second period of the game? So those are the questions that they're going to have to answer, and he's going to have to answer most specifically. But his choice of words were a little bit surprising to me.
Yeah, that was as stern and as pointed as he's been.
Yeah. Although, but as you said earlier, maybe it's time for somebody to lose it. And, maybe that's losing it for him. We haven't seen anything of the kind to this point. So maybe it's time that he felt it was up to him to put out that message, because I'm sure he gave it to them in the room, and then he went and he gave it to the media in that room. So they're going to hear it for the full, day off and getting ready for the next game.
Right. Yeah. I've heard that he is a warm, kind man, as you've noted. I've heard he's got that. He has to. It shouldn't be a surprise. I've heard he's got that top shelf where when it's time, he can curl the paint off the wall.
Yeah, and it's, you know what, like we talked about John Tortorella earlier in this. I think the one thing about a coach like John Tortorella is that if you're getting that same thing all the time, then sometimes when he's giving it to you, it just doesn't have the same effect because it's that here we go again type of thing.
Right.
When you have somebody that's always there and patting you on the shoulder and telling you it's going to be okay, and all of a sudden that same guy has a totally different tone of voice, and he's not patting your shoulder, he's kicking you in the butt, and he's saying, right now, this is where you have to do exactly what I'm telling you. Sometimes you tend to snap to it a little bit because it's a little bit out of character from what you've seen. So maybe that'll be the case.
Yeah, I've always heard I forget who the player was who said that, like, when Todd Richards would get mad, it was like everybody just felt so awful because they felt like they'd let down their favorite uncle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when Torts would go crazy, everybody sort of jumped to attention because he could really take the paint off the wall, like I said twice now. The guys that have different ways of motivating, but I think it feels like I don't know. He's going to build them up again for Tuesday. He really has no choice. Right. But I feel like there's going to be some stern messages delivered. If there haven't, I think there have been already, but some stern messages delivered before the game during the day Tuesday that maybe are almost unrecognizable from where they were earlier in their relationship. These are now absolutely huge games. And Bob, if they hadn't pissed away so many points in so many games, these games, this Tuesday, Thursday, could be for supremacy in the Metro. That's not crazy to say.
That's right.
The Pittsburgh Penguins have gone through this too, have they not? With a lot of blown leads. What are they, 0-something in shootouts too?
Well, yeah, they were, and then I think they've won their last two. So but they struggled all year there. Yeah. Yeah,
there's some crazy numbers around the league. I had a thing today in the Monday gathering that the Blue Jackets have given up 5 power plays this year within 10 seconds of the penalty kill starting. Over the weekend, there was a 3-second kill and a 6-second kill. And I sent a message to the league. Surely the 3-second power play has to be the fastest one they've ever allowed. Nope, 2 seconds against the Anaheim Ducks in 2012. Like, it can always be worse, people. It can always be worse. This is where Bonus is going to pick them up. He was saying last night after the game, they're still in a playoff spot. They got a point last night. Everybody else will say they've lost 4 out of 5, but they are still in a playoff spot. No matter what happens tonight, we're recording this on Monday. They'll wake up Tuesday in a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. That's just the facts. That's not anybody being overly optimistic. They did play that first period the other night, and it might be one of the best first periods I've ever seen this franchise play. They also pretty well kicked around Carolina the last time they played them. So these are the messages that are going to be delivered to this group to get them going again. They are at home. I almost kind of think it'd be better if they were on the road for this game. Should they carry a lead into the third, but whatever. What is your level of confidence now, Bob McElligott, Blue Jackets radio voice, in this team now being able to hold on to and get into a playoff spot? I've been saying for probably a month and a half now that this is a playoff team. I still kind of do. And I think maybe they're just making it a greater story out of interest for their media brethren. But what is your level of confidence in this team being able to hold on and get this thing done?
Well, I think for people like you and I, and for many of our fans, I think where it gets blurred is it's easy to say, oh, I've seen this before.
Yes.
Right. And I was thinking about this a lot today because we have seen this before. We just saw it last year. We saw coming out of the outdoor game, you go on a skid and that takes you out of it. Now you're chasing at the end to try to get back into it. But, we've also seen years that were really bad years, and then a team come to life in the final 4 weeks of the season and take away a chance at maybe getting a top lottery pick and an Austin Matthews or Connor McDavid too, right? So when you look at it overall, I think you expect bad things to happen, but I don't know if that's fair with this team, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
They do have, I think they do have the right coach in place for what they're trying to do right now, especially where they're sitting right now after what's happened over the weekend.
Yeah.
I think they got the right guy here to get them back and lift them up. They should have confidence after the way they treated Carolina a couple of weeks ago here. On the flip side, Carolina is going to be mad. They're going to say that was not us. Watch this. We're going to show you.
Long memories.
Yeah. So, and I get that, but you're going into a game against a team that you handled pretty well just a couple of weeks ago. So that should give you a little bit of confidence. I still think they're going to get in. I don't know if it's going to be squeak in or if all of a sudden they're going to win some games. Like just go back to when they had to play LA at home, right? And the game that got jammed in there because it got snowed out. And they lose that game in overtime. And now they've got to travel to Tampa and play the next night. And not only play Tampa, but Vasilevsky's going to play against them for the first time all year. First time in a while, right?
Right.
And they win that game, and they win it handily.
Really well, yeah.
Yes. Go back to shutting out the Dallas Stars 1-0 at the time that they did that.
Right.
They do have the ability. They've done it before where they've won games where you think they've got no shot.
Yep.
And if you look at the schedule, Carolina, you got Winnipeg coming in over the weekend. They've been better. And then if you get the next week and you're still talking about it, you have to go to Detroit, Buffalo, and Montreal.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to win games that people don't expect them to win. They've done it this year. I'm not counting them out right now because it feels like the end. Jody Shelley tells me every day there are 82 games. You cannot say it's over until it's officially over because it never is.
Yep. They have not played a must-win game yet. And every night when they play, I see people say, this was a must-win. No, it isn't. It isn't. It isn't. I always have called that the reservoir of faith. And this franchise, through its struggles, does not have a very deep reservoir of faith with the fan base because of how things have gone. So there is sort of an apocalyptic response to a nightmare game like they had on Sunday.
Right.
And
here's the other thing that people forget.
I get it.
The people have that feeling. Most of the players do not. Most of the players haven't lived through that here.
Correct.
Boone Jenner and Zach Werenski have been they've seen more than anybody else. But fact of the matter is, what does Charlie Coyle care? He goes to the playoffs every year that he plays. It's not a big deal. Like he's been here, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of guys are like that. So, we feel we've seen so much, but they haven't. They don't care.
Yeah. For the longtime fan, it all goes into one big pot. But for these guys are like, holy shit, we lost that game Sunday. Like it happens. Like, relax.
We got a point,
Yeah. And they did. And that point, especially given their situation with the tiebreakers, could be massive.
Well, look, if they would have gotten a point on Saturday, maybe we feel a little bit different on Monday than we did, right?
I think people here are just so, and you've said that, they're so dying to have a team that can deliver like they have seen other cities' teams deliver. Like, when is it their turn? I think is what is kind of always in the back of their head. And when they see that first period, they go, here we go. This is the team. And then they leave the rink absolutely crestfallen. God, this team's record in sold out nights at Nationwide. Oof. Let me leave you with this one. We're getting way ahead of ourselves now, given the last 4 or 5 games. What's your dream first round matchup for the Blue Jackets? I mean, I think we can say it's either going to be the Penguins, it could be either of the Wild. It could be either the division winners, couldn't it, or the Islanders?
Right.
Yeah. So Tampa, Carolina, Pittsburgh, New York Islanders. And I'll remind you that the NFL draft, these are the things we think about that fans don't give a hoot about. The NFL draft is in April, I think the 23rd to the 22nd to the 24th or something like that, which is right when the second round or the third and fourth games would be in an opening series. So you'll have a room, Bob, you team employee, you and your cushy hotel.
I'm not so sure.
I'll be
The
at
team will have a room. The players will have a room. I don't know about me.
Well, maybe we'll camp.
I have a brother and a sister that live over there. I'm getting a room somewhere.
Maybe we'll go camp in Latrobe or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that could be scary. But what's your preferred matchup in the first round? Who do you think? I mean, who would you like them to play against, just for pure entertainment's sake? Who do you think they've got the best chance against?
Well, I like them against Pittsburgh, even with Crosby and Malkin, because I don't like Pittsburgh's goaltending so much. It would be fun to actually be in one of those series and win it and send them home and move on to the second round. Jody Shelley tells me I'm crazy about that. He's told me he's seen enough of Pittsburgh. I can tell you this: I don't want to see the Islanders. I don't want to watch that hockey for a week. I just don't. I don't. It's like watching paint dry. I don't want to watch it. Yeah. I don't think Carolina is the worst matchup in the world either. Now, maybe by Friday I have to recant my statement. But
right.
But you know what I mean? But I still don't think that they've solved that goaltending problem. I don't.
Fair.
And that's always their problem when it gets into the playoffs.
Yep.
Tampa would be a nice story to go back around again, but they're pretty good. I don't know if I want to see them early on.
Right.
And the Sabres, that's going to be a wild card, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like they've waited so long to get in. They're going to get in. It's going to be a packed building. There's going to be plenty of energy. But then all of a sudden, they're going to have a lot of guys that have that intense pressure that they don't really have right now because they're in. They're locked in.
Right.
And once they lose a game in the playoffs, then that pressure intensifies. So, but I wouldn't mind, as much as I'm probably tired of seeing them. I wouldn't mind going up against Pittsburgh. Although as you said, there's going to be like 70,000 people in that town. So if the Blue Jackets have home ice, it's going to be a disaster.
I've already looked. Like I could stay in Erie at this rate. Or
you might as well just, it's half as far away, right?
I'll go Ricky. I'll sleep in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay in Wheeling. It's really nice in Wheeling this time of year.
Oh, couldn't be. Yeah. And even Washington's booked. Like,
no way.
You can't even get into Washington. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. Anyways. Bob McElligott, thanks very much.
You know what? If we have the good fortune to be involved in that, you and I will both be very happy.
100%. Again, I'd sleep in my car. I've done it before.
Right.
I mean, not for that's lying. I have not slept in it, but like for work. I would have to make amends. I have a friend in Pittsburgh too. Actually lives in Mount Washington. That's a nice little spot. Just take the incline down to the game.
That's right. Right down the hill. You'll be right there.
Yeah, perfect. Bobby Mac, thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Aaron. And I hope we brought him luck with our great breakdown and talk today.
Yeah. I don't think you've ever called me Aaron before either. Are we getting serious? Is this getting serious?
I guess I haven't, huh?
Yeah, right.
Professional.
Only known you since 92.
Sorry, Porty. Right. I apologize.
No, you're fine. Thanks, man. Have a good one. I'll see you out there.
All right, thanks.
All right. Thanks to Bob McElligott for joining us. And thanks for listening to Front and Nationwide. We've asked for your questions. And boy, you did not disappoint as always. We get right to him here. Scott, who is Scotty Goal ER, says, is it safe to say that this summer's goal to keep our wanted UFAs will be dramatically hurt if they miss the playoffs, potentially even the chances of Rick Bowness returning on a contract? I think there could be more changes. I think it's easier to make changes and to let veterans go if you didn't make the playoffs. My sense personally is that they would still like to keep Coyle. If that means he wants to stay here, that could be, this could impact that. I guess every situation is possible. I don't know if it would be dramatically hurt. I think you could say it could be impacted one way or the other. We'll see. As for Bowness, and listen, that year-to-year contract, I've surmised that could be a possibility. I think maybe some people are speaking that up to be like the plan, and we're not there. They've said they'll talk about it again after this season. So I think everybody's in a better move and likes to keep the band together if you make the playoffs for sure. But I'm not sure that it's that cut and dried, because that's only those two guys know where they're at. Paul Branham says, if Bonus comes back, do the Blue Jackets try to get his successor on as an assistant, or worry about the next coach when they cross that bridge? It's a great question, and it's a question I think that will be confronted when Bonus makes his decision this summer. I've talked before about, what does Trent Vogelhuber want to do? He's been in Cleveland now for a significant time as head coach of the Monsters. He has, I think, proven himself to be a very good AHL coach. So he doesn't have NHL experience on his resume, either as a player or as a coach. I think that's going to be vital for him. I think it would be really good for him to see what the NHL is like as an assistant. So I think that's a guy they think very, very highly of. I think it's a guy who's going to be in demand. But I think one thing that may keep him off some lists is a lot of teams will want maybe not NHL head coaching experience, but certainly NHL experience before they hire a coach. It's completely different if you had a long and storied NHL career. Trent Vogelhuber did not have an NHL career, a really good AHL career. So he doesn't jump, 3 legs of the ladder like some guys may, steps of the ladder, as other guys may. He's going to have to work his way up. And for me, it makes sense that the next step would be the NHL. Ernie Morris says, does Elvis still view himself as a or the starter? That'd be a question for Elvis. I think that'd be a hard sell, even to yourself, maybe. It's pretty clear that Jet's taken over the net. Really, I mean, he's carried the bulk of the work here for a while. So with the back-to-back, I mean, you saw Elvis play Saturday. He's not a forgotten man. They've got other back-to-backs coming. Do they? Yeah, 11. They have one more. It's the 11th and the 12th. And so we're definitely going to see Elvis again. I don't think that'll be his only start. I don't think they're going to forget about him, but it's pretty clear that Jet is the guy. Let's see. Humble CBJ guy says, do you think making it into the playoffs or not changes Rick Bonus's decision for next year? It's a great question. And again, I think if they make the playoffs, everybody's in a good mood and you see where it can go. But that's stepping into Rick Bonus's his mind right now. He is 71. He was once retired. Sounds like a pretty good life in Florida that he had. I think he's really loving this experience, but we'll see where it is afterwards. Mostly we're just guessing at this stuff based upon how he might feel. Chad T says, so I understand Cleveland making a playoff push of their own, but why haven't we seen Luca Del Bel Belluz or Gaunce up here? Both players in varying degrees need to be part of this. Chad, I think the easy answer there is that this team was 18-3-4, 19-3-4 before this recent spell of losses. So you're not gonna bring them up here to sit, and you're not going to take guys out of the lineup when the team's playing well. So my sense is that Luca Del Bel Belluz is being recalled. We're now at 6:14. Nothing announced yet that I've seen, but could come. We'll see. And it could be somebody other than Luca Del Bel Belluz. There's a lot of candidates down there. You mentioned Gaunce. He's a good one. Let's see. Peter Clavin says, people on Reddit are saying that the Caden Lindstrom pick was a Yarmo pick. No, that's not true. That's Don Waddell. He was the GM. Because of the timing Waddell was hired on, it would have been all Yarmo scouting for the draft. That's not true. It would have been Yarmo's scouts. Scouting for the draft. But no, the GM gets the pick, and the GM owns the pick, be that a good result or not. So I would push back on that one a little bit. All right, let's find some more here, just a couple more, and we'll let you go. Thanks for chiming in here. Do appreciate it. Let's see here. Make sure these are good. It seems as though while Rick Bonus may communicate a little bit better on it, there's still an aversion, even going back to PV, Pascal Vincent, to fully playing some of the younger guys in a vet first preference. I'm thinking of Matejchuk playing under 15 minutes, for example. That's from MC Lopez 94. I mean, I don't think that is a blanket. I don't want to disagree with you, but I don't think that's a blanket policy by any stretch. I mean, this team's number one center has been Fantilli, right? Listen, sometimes your defensive pair determines how much playing time you get more than just you. And so they had Matejchuk with Provorov at the start, but I think for most of the game, you'll correct me if I'm wrong. He's played a lot with Goodbranson lately. I don't worry about Matejchuk. Sure, I'd like to see him play more. I'd be fine with him on the power play. I will say this, though, two things. I think at this point in his career, Provorov is a more polished defenseman defensively. And I think they both have been kind of prone to this, but Matejchuk has had, and it happens, but he has had some pretty significant gaffes with the puck. And so those are things to iron out of his game. He's going to be a hell of a defenseman, guys. He's 21 years old, doesn't turn 22 until July. He's at 12 goals. And that doesn't sound like a lot maybe in today's NHL. Matthew Schaefer's at 22, the rookie of the year. But the only other player to hit 12 or more for the Blue Jackets before they turn 22 is Zach Werenski. Among the players in the league right now, I think there's like 16 guys since the Blue Jackets have been in the NHL that have had 12 or more goals. Actually, it's a lot more than that. It's like 9 guys that have had 12 or more goals as defensemen before the age of 22. That's impressive. He's going to be a really, really, really good player. Let's see here. Lester Watson says the Bruins dancing up and down on our logo at center ice was absolutely classless. Good thing I don't play for the Blue Jackets or that April 12th game. Lester, you may get a contract here. That game would become known as the body bag game. Oh, whoa. Lester's getting serious. There'd be Bruins missing the playoffs for sure. I'd have to look at that. Didn't see it. We bolt as soon as that game is over to get down, get on the elevator and get out of the way for the crowd. For interviews. Somebody show me a video or tell me what that was. Lester, shoot back with with more of a description if you don't mind. Were they raising their sticks or what exactly were they doing? Yeah, I'd like to know. Just out of curiosity. And hey, maybe it's a story. Let's see what else we got here. If anything, I do thank you for your notes and your letters this week. Appreciate you. Let's see. Okay, we're good. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Thanks to Bob McElligott for joining us. Thanks to Grant Hunter for putting all of this together. Thanks to our good friend David for the great tunage. You got to love the lead-in, don't you? Turn it up. Play it loud. Friends and neighbors will love it. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next week. You've been listening to the Front and Nationwide podcast on the Athletic Podcast Network.